The first thing Jake Morrison felt was cold. Not the bitter cold of winter, but the deep, bone-chilling cold that seemed to come from inside his very soul. His eyes opened slowly, and bright white light flooded his vision. He tried to move, but his muscles felt like they were made of stone. "Wake up, Captain Morrison," a calm voice said. It was the ship's computer, speaking in the same tone it had used 800,000 years ago. "Revival process is complete. Please remain still while your body adjusts." Jake's mind was foggy, like he was trying to think through thick soup. Slowly, memories began to return. Earth, the dying planet. The great colony ships. The long sleep that was supposed to last only a few hundred years while they traveled to their new home. "Status report," Jake whispered, his voice rough and scratchy. "UNS. Horizon is functioning normally, Captain. All systems are operational. You have been in cryogenic sleep for 798,437 years. The number hit Jake like a physical blow. Almost 800,000 years. That was not right. They were supposed to sleep. For only 300 years during the journey to Kepler 442, something had gone very wrong. "Where are we?" Jake asked, trying to sit up. His muscles screamed in protest, but he forced himself to move. "Unknown, Captain. Our navigation systems show we are not in the Kepler 442 system. Long-range sensors detect artificial structures throughout this region of space. The energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases." Jake's training kicked in. Even after nearly 800,000 years of sleep, he was still a ship's captain. He had responsibilities. "Begin revival procedures for senior staff. Priority list Alpha. Revival procedures initiated, Captain. Chief Engineer Lisa Parker will be ready in 15 minutes. Dr. Sam Rodriguez in 20 minutes. Navigation Specialist Amy Collins in 25 minutes. Jake forced himself to stand. His legs shook, but they held his weight. The medical bay was exactly as he remembered it, except for a thin layer of dust on everything. The ship had been running on automatic systems for longer than human civilization had existed when they first left Earth. As Jake walked through the corridors, he saw thousands of cryogenic pods lining the walls. Inside each one was a human being, suspended in time. 50,000 people who had left Earth to find a new home among the stars. They were all that remained of humanity, as far as he knew. The first to join him was Lisa Parker, the chief engineer. She was a tall woman with short brown hair and quick, intelligent eyes. Like Jake, she moved carefully as her body adjusted to being awake again. "Captain," she said, her voice still rough from the long sleep. "The computer says we've been out for almost 800,000 years. That can't be right." "I'm afraid." "It is," Jake replied. "Something went wrong with our navigation. We're not where we're supposed to be." Dr. Sam Rodriguez arrived next. He was a middle-aged man with gentle hands and a calm manner that made people trust him instantly. His first action was to check Jake and Lisa for any problems from the long sleep. "Physically, you both seem fine," he said after a quick examination. "The cryogenic systems did their job. But 800,000 years, that's beyond anything we planned for." Amy Collins was the last to arrive. She was young, barely 30 when they had entered cryo sleep, with bright red hair and a mind that could calculate stellar positions faster than most computers. She went straight to the navigation station and began checking their position. "Captain," she said, her voice filled with wonder and fear, "we're nowhere near Kepler 442. In fact, I don't recognize any of these star patterns. It's like we're in a completely different part of the galaxy." Jake looked at the main screen, which showed the space around their ship. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. Massive structures floated in the darkness, each one larger, then Earth's moon. They glowed with soft blue light and seemed to pulse like living things. Energy beams connected them in a vast network that stretched as far as their sensors could detect. Those structures, Jake said, they're artificial. Someone built them. Not someone, Amy said, studying her readings. Many someones. I'm detecting at least 40 different types of energy signatures. This looks like ... like a civilization. A huge one. Lisa ran her hands over the engineering controls. Captain, our systems are primitive compared to what I'm seeing out there. Those energy signatures suggest technology we can't even understand. What about Earth? Jake asked. Can we contact home? Amy worked at her station for several minutes before shaking her head. I can't find Earth, Captain. I can't even find our sun. We've drifted so far from our original course that our home system is invisible from here. The four humans stood in silence, looking at the alien structures on the screen. They were alone, farther from home than any human had ever been, in a galaxy that had changed completely while they slept. Should we try to contact them? Dr. Rodriguez asked quietly. We have to, Jake said. We need to know where we are and how to get home. But we need to be careful. We don't know if they're friendly. Lisa nodded. I'll prepare a basic greeting transmission. Something simple that shows we're intelligent, but not threatening. As Lisa worked on the transmission, Jake thought about their situation. 50,000 humans, the last survivors of Earth, lost in a galaxy full of unknown aliens. Their ship was old, and their technology was primitive. They had no weapons and no way to defend themselves if the aliens turned out to be hostile. But they also had something the aliens might not expect. They had human determination. They had survived the death of their home planet. They had slept for almost 800,000 years and woken up ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. Transmission ready, Captain, Lisa announced. Send it, Jake ordered. The transmission went out into space, a simple radio signal, carrying greetings in multiple human languages and basic mathematical concepts to show they were intelligent. Now all they could do was wait and see if anyone would answer. They didn't have to wait long. Within an hour, their communication system came alive with incoming signals. But these weren't the simple radio waves they had sent out. These were complex, multi-layered transmissions that carried more information than their computers could process. Captain, Amy said, her voice tight with excitement and fear, we're being scanned. Multiple ships are approaching our position. They're big, Captain. Really big. On the main screen, Jake could see them coming. Sleek vessels that moved through space like living things, each one 10 times larger than the UN's horizon. They approached slowly, as if they were being careful not to frighten the humans. Open a channel, Jake ordered. All frequencies. The main screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at something that was definitely not human. It had 4 arms, skin that looked like it was made of blue crystal, and eyes that glowed with soft light. When it spoke, the words were translated by some kind of universal device. Greetings, unknown vessel, the alien said. I am Administrator Zefter of the Galactic Federation First Contact Division. We have detected your transmission and your species signature. According to our records, your species was declared extinct 700,000 years ago. This is ... unexpected. Jake stepped forward, trying to look calm and confident, despite the fear that was racing through his heart. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations Ship Horizon. We are human beings from Earth, and we are very much alive. The alien's glowing eyes widened. Humans, it whispered. The humans are awake. The alien ship that approached the UNS Horizon was unlike anything Jake and his crew had ever imagined. It looked like a giant flower made of metal and light, with petals that opened and closed as it moved through space. The ship was so large that their entire colony vessel could fit inside one of its cargo bays. "Captain," Amy Collins said from her navigation station, "I'm reading massive energy signatures from that ship. Their power output is 1,000 times greater than ours." Jake nodded, but kept his eyes on the main screen where Administrator Zefter waited. The blue crystal alien had not moved or spoken since Jake identified himself and his crew as humans. The silence stretched on for long minutes. Finally, Zefter spoke again. "Captain Morrison, we must verify your claims. According to our historical database, the species known as humans destroyed their homeworld through warfare and environmental damage approximately 700,000 years ago. No human settlements have been detected for 650,000 years. Our homeworld was dying when we left," Jake admitted, "but we didn't destroy it through war. Climate change and pollution were killing Earth, so we built colony ships to find new homes among the stars." "Fascinating," Zefter said. "Our records may be incomplete. Captain Morrison, I am sending a diplomatic shuttle to your vessel. We must conduct proper first contact protocols. Please prepare 3 representatives to meet with our delegation." Jake looked at his senior staff. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward first. "I'll go, Captain. As medical officer, I can represent our biological needs and limitations." "I should go too," said a new voice from the doorway. Dr. Ben Carter had just arrived from the revival bay. He was a thin man with gray hair who specialized in languages and communication. "If we're going to talk with aliens, we'll need someone who understands how different species communicate." Jake thought for a moment. "I'll take Commander Kate Murphy as our 3rd representative. We need security presence, just in case." Kate Murphy was a tough woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She had been the ship's security chief before. They entered cryo sleep. Like the others, she moved carefully as her body adjusted to being awake again. "What do we know about their intentions?" Kate asked. "Nothing yet," Jake replied. "But they seem peaceful. They could have destroyed us easily if they wanted to." The alien shuttle arrived 30 minutes later. It was small compared to the mothership, but still twice the size of the UNS Horizon's largest shuttle. It docked with their ship without any problems, which impressed Lisa Parker. "Their docking technology is incredible," she said. "They connected to our systems like they've been using our docking ports for years." Jake, Dr. Rodriguez, and Dr. Carter walked to the docking bay to meet their visitors. Kate Murphy followed close behind, her hand resting on her sidearm. They had decided to bring weapons, but keep them hidden to avoid appearing threatening. Airlock opened, and 3 aliens stepped through. The first was Administrator Zefter, whose crystal skin caught the light and threw rainbows across the walls. The second alien looked like a giant insect, with 6 arms and eyes that seemed to see everything at once. The third was completely different. It appeared to be made of water that somehow held its shape, flowing and shifting constantly. "I am Administrator Zefter," the crystal alien said. "This is Research Specialist Clitter of the Kroithak species, and Flow Seeker Akun of the Mordane people. We represent the Galactic Federation's first contact division." Dr. Carter stepped forward. "I am Dr. Ben Carter, Communications Specialist. This is Dr. Sam Rodriguez, our medical officer, and Captain Jake Morrison, commander of this vessel." The insect-like Clitter moved closer to Dr. Rodriguez, its many eyes studying him carefully. "Fascinating bone structure," it said in a clicking voice. "Carbon-based, oxygen-breathing, similar to 14 other Federation species. But there are unique elements. Your muscle development suggests high physical capability." Akun, the water being, flowed closer to Dr. Carter. "Your communication methods are primitive but efficient. Single-tone vocalizations with complex grammar structures. How do you handle concepts that require multiple simultaneous thoughts? We don't, Dr. Carter admitted. Humans think in linear patterns, one thought following another. We use written language and visual aids for complex ideas. Remarkable. Akun said, most species develop multi-thread consciousness before achieving space travel. Your species must be highly adaptable to overcome such limitations. Administrator Zefter raised one of his 4 arms for attention. Captain Morrison, we must discuss your situation. The Galactic Federation has maintained peace and order in this galaxy for over 600,000 years. Every spacefaring species is catalogued and monitored. The sudden appearance of an extinct species creates ... complications. What kind of complications? Jake asked. The Federation Council must decide how to classify your people, Zefter explained. Are you refugees who need protection? Are you a potential threat that must be contained? Are you candidates for membership in our alliance? These decisions affect not just your 50,000 people, but the stability of the entire galaxy. Dr. Rodriguez looked concerned. We're not a threat to anyone. We just want to find a safe place to live and raise our families. Clicker made clicking sounds that might have been laughter. Dr. Rodriguez, your species' history suggests otherwise. Our records show constant warfare, territorial expansion, and resource depletion. These behaviors led to your apparent extinction. That was a long time ago, Jake said firmly. The people on this ship left Earth because we wanted to build something better. We learned from our mistakes. Perhaps, Zefter said, but the Federation cannot take risks with galactic stability. We have seen what happens when aggressive species are allowed to spread unchecked. Akun flowed closer to the group. There have been other species like yours. The Vakthai were warriors who promised peace but started 3 sector wars. The Pelgorans seemed harmless until they began consuming entire star systems for resources. Both species had to be ... managed. The way Akun said managed made Kate Murphy's hand move closer to her weapon. Jake noticed and gave her a subtle, warning look. What does managed mean? Dr. Carter asked carefully. Relocated to suitable worlds where they can develop under Federation oversight, Zefter said. Some species adapt well to guided development. Others do not. Jake could see where this conversation was heading. The Federation saw humans as a potential problem that needed to be controlled. Administrator Zefter, we would like to learn more about the Federation and our options. Could we visit one of your facilities? That can be arranged, Zefter said. But first, we must conduct a full evaluation of your vessel and your people. We need to understand your technology, your social structure, and your intentions. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. We'll cooperate fully. We have nothing to hide. Clickter's many eyes focused on him. Dr. Rodriguez, hiding is not the concern. The concern is what your species might do without intending harm. Your people show remarkable creativity and adaptability. These traits can be beneficial, but they can also be dangerous. How can creativity be dangerous? Dr. Carter asked. Akun made a sound like water flowing over rocks. Creative species find new ways to solve problems. Sometimes these solutions disrupt carefully maintained balances. The Federation has spent hundreds of thousands of years creating stability. Unpredictable elements threaten that stability. Jake began to understand their situation better. The Federation wasn't necessarily hostile, but they were afraid of change. Humans represented something they couldn't predict or control easily. Administrator Zefter, Jake said, we appreciate your position, but we hope you'll give us a chance to prove that humans can be valuable members of the galactic community. That decision is not mine to make, Zefter replied. The Federation Council will debate your fate. Until then, you will accompany us to New Nexus, the Federation capital. There you will be evaluated by experts from multiple species. And if the evaluation doesn't go well? Kate Murphy asked bluntly. Zephyr's crystal skin dimmed slightly. Then you will be relocated to a world where you cannot interfere with galactic affairs. It is not cruel, Captain Morrison. Many species live happily under Federation protection. Jake looked at his companions. They all understood what was really being offered: surrender their freedom or face the consequences. But they also realized they had little choice. Their ship was surrounded by vessels that could destroy them in seconds. We'll come with you, Jake said finally. But we want to bring more of our people. We need representatives from different fields of study. Acceptable, Zephyr said. You may revive up to 20 individuals. But choose carefully, Captain Morrison. These people will help determine the future of your entire species. As the aliens returned to their shuttle, Jake turned to his companions. They had bought some time, but their real challenge was just beginning. They had to convince an ancient galactic government that humanity deserved not just to survive, but to thrive. Among the stars. The journey to New Nexus took 3 days aboard the Federation ship. Jake Morrison and his team of 20 humans lived in special quarters designed to accommodate different alien species. The rooms could adjust temperature, atmosphere, and gravity to match the needs of their occupants. Dr. Helen Moore, one of the scientists Jake had chosen to revive, spent most of her time studying the Federation technology around them. She was a brilliant woman with curly blonde hair and eyes that missed nothing. Captain, she said on the second day, their engineering is incredible, but it's also very conservative. Everything is built to last forever, with multiple backup systems for every function. What does that tell us? Jake asked. They're not innovators, Helen replied. They take existing technology and make it as safe and reliable as possible. But they don't seem to create anything truly new. Colonel Frank Hayes, the military advisor Jake had awakened, nodded in agreement. I've been watching their crew work. They follow procedures exactly. No deviation, no improvisation. It's efficient, but it's also predictable. Amy Collins had been allowed access to the ship's navigation systems, under careful supervision. Captain, you need to see this, she said, bringing up a holographic display of the galaxy. Look at how organized everything is. The display showed the entire galaxy divided into neat sections, each one color-coded and labeled. Shipping lanes ran between systems like highways, with traffic control stations at regular intervals. Every inhabited world was connected to the network. It's beautiful, Dr. Carter said, studying the display. But it's also completely controlled. There's no room for exploration or discovery. That's the point, said a new voice. They turned to see Zephyr approaching their group. Dr. Carter, chaos leads to conflict. Conflict leads to war. War leads to destruction. The Federation prevents this through careful planning and management. Jake looked at the galactic map again. How long has it been since anyone explored beyond Federation space? There is no need, Zephyr replied. We have cataloged all useful systems within our borders. Beyond our territory lies only empty space and dangerous anomalies. But what if there are other civilizations out there? Helen asked. Other species that could benefit from contact with the Federation? Zephyr's crystal skin flickered with different colors. Dr. Moore, the Federation represents over 10,000 species. We have achieved perfect harmony among different forms of life. Adding more variables would only create instability. When they arrived at New Nexus, the humans stared in amazement at the massive space station. It was larger than Earth's moon, with millions of levels and sections, housing representatives from every Federation species. Ships came and went constantly, following precise traffic patterns that allowed no room for error. Their shuttle landed in a special diplomatic section, where first contact situations were handled. Jake and his team were escorted through corridors filled with aliens of every imaginable type. Some walked on legs, others floated through the air, and a few moved along the walls like living liquid. "Welcome to New Nexus," Zephyr said as they walked. "This station has been the center of galactic government for 400,000 years. Every major decision affecting the galaxy is made here." They were taken to a large chamber with a high council net. The room was enormous, with seats and platforms designed for hundreds of different alien body types. At the center sat a being that looked ancient beyond measure. "Captain Morrison," Zephyr said formally, "I present Chancellor Morthen the Eternal, leader of the Federation High Council." Chancellor Morthen looked like he was made of living stone, with veins of light running through his body. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from deep underground. "Humans," he said slowly, "we meet at last." "Your Excellency," Jake said, not sure of the proper way to address such a being. "We are honored to meet you." "I have lived for 417,000 years, Morthen said. "I have seen species rise and fall, civilizations born and destroyed. I was here when the Federation was formed to prevent such destruction, and I was here when your species was presumed extinct." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "Chancellor, our records might help fill in gaps in your historical data. We have detailed information about Earth and human civilization up until our departure." "Interesting," Morthen replied. "But more important is what your species represents now. You are a puzzle, Captain Morrison. Your people should not exist, yet here you are. Your technology is primitive, yet you survived 800,000 years in space. Your species was violent and chaotic, yet you claim to seek peace." Kate Murphy, who had been quiet during most of the journey, finally spoke up. "Chancellor, people can change. The humans on our ship chose to leave Earth because we wanted something better than endless war and destruction." Several alien council members made sounds that might have been laughter. One of them, a creature that looked like a walking tree, spoke up. "Commander Murphy, every species claims they have changed when they face judgment. The Vakthai said the same thing before they started the sector wars." "What happened to the Vakthai?" Frank Hayes asked. "They were relocated to a suitable world where they could develop under guidance," Morthen replied. "They now live peacefully in a controlled environment where they cannot harm themselves or others." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. "Chancellor, are you saying they're prisoners?" "They are protected," another council member said. This one looked like a giant butterfly with too many wings. "The Federation does not believe in punishment, only in prevention of harm." Helen Moore had been studying the council chamber while the others talked. Now she stepped forward with a question that surprised everyone. "Chancellor Morthen, when was the last time the Federation discovered something completely new?" The ancient leader's stone face showed no expression, but the light veins in his body pulsed more quickly. "Dr. Moore, the Federation has perfected the art of civilization. We have solved the problems of war, poverty, and chaos. What more is there to discover?" "Everything," Helen said simply. "Science, art, philosophy, technology. Growth comes from facing new challenges and solving new problems. If you eliminate all challenges, you also eliminate all growth." The council chamber fell silent. Finally, Morthen spoke again. "Dr. Moore, growth often leads to instability. Instability leads to conflict. We have chosen stability over growth." "But at what cost?" Dr. Carter asked. "Chancellor, we've been observing your people during our journey here. They're efficient and peaceful, but they're also," he searched for the right word, "stagnant. They follow the same patterns, use the same solutions, think the same thoughts they've been thinking for thousands of years." A new voice joined the conversation. It came from a being that looked like living shadow. "Dr. Carter speaks of stagnation as if it were a disease. But stagnation is simply another word for stability. Would you prefer chaos? I'd prefer balance, Jake said. Some stability for security, some change for growth. Humanity has always believed that we're at our best when we're facing challenges and solving problems. And that belief nearly destroyed your homeworld, the shadow being replied. Amy Collins had been quiet during most of the exchange, but now she spoke up with excitement in her voice. Chancellor, may I show you something? I've been working on improvements to your navigation systems during our journey here. Several council members made sounds of surprise. Improvements? Morthen asked. Our navigation systems have been perfected over hundreds of thousands of years. They're very good, Amy admitted, but I found ways to make them better. She activated a portable display and showed her calculations. By using intuitive mathematics instead of purely logical calculations, I can reduce travel time between any 2 points by an average of 30%. The council chamber erupted in discussion. Different species spoke in their own languages, creating a chaos of sounds. Finally, Morthen called for order. Miss Collins, he said carefully, what you suggest is impossible. Our best mathematicians have calculated optimal routes for every journey in Federation space. Your mathematicians think like computers, Amy replied. Humans think differently. We use intuition and pattern recognition along with logic. Sometimes that lets us see solutions that pure logic misses. A new alien joined the discussion. One looked like a crystal formation with multiple faces. Chancellor, I am Mathematics Coordinator Velenas. I have reviewed the humans' calculations. They are unconventional, but mathematically sound. Her methods could indeed improve efficiency across the entire Federation transportation network. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Frank Hayes spoke up. Chancellor, maybe that's what humanity can offer the Federation. Not threat, not chaos, but a different way of thinking about problems you've considered solved. Helen Moore nodded enthusiastically. Every species in the Federation thinks logically and follows established patterns. Humans add intuition, creativity, and the willingness to try new approaches. We could help the Federation grow without becoming unstable. Morthen's ancient eyes studied the humans for a long moment. Captain Morrison, your people present us with a dilemma. You could be valuable allies, but you could also be dangerous disruptions to galactic peace. The Council must decide which you truly are. The evaluation period began immediately after the humans were assigned their quarters on New Nexus. Jake Morrison woke up on the first morning to find that his team had been separated. Each human was assigned to work with different Federation departments to demonstrate their abilities and assess their potential impact. Dr. Helen Moore found herself in the Federation's main research facility, working alongside alien scientists who had been studying the same problems for thousands of years. The laboratory was pristine and organized, with every tool in its proper place and every procedure carefully documented. Dr. Moore, said her assigned supervisor, a tall alien with silver skin and 6 eyes. I am Research Director Sylvan. Today, you will observe our standard research protocols. Please do not touch anything without permission. Helen nodded politely, but as she watched the alien scientists work, she noticed something troubling. They followed the same steps in the same order every time, never varying their approach, even when the results were disappointing. Director Sylvan, Helen said after watching for several hours, what if you tried a different approach to the protein? Synthesis problem you're working on? Different approach? Sylvan looked confused. Dr. Moore, we follow established protocols that have been proven safe and effective. There is no need for different approaches. But you've been getting the same results for months, Helen pointed out. Maybe it's time to try something new. Without waiting for permission, Helen moved to an unused workstation and began setting up her own experiment. She combined chemicals in ways that made the alien scientists nervous, testing combinations that weren't in any of their procedure manuals. "Dr. Moore, stop," Sylvan called out. "You are deviating from approved protocols. This could be dangerous." "It could also work," Helen replied, continuing her experiment. Within 2 hours, she had synthesized a protein variant that the Federation scientists had been trying to create for over a year. Meanwhile, Amy Collins was working in the navigation center, surrounded by computers that calculated flight paths for thousands of ships every day. The alien navigators were impressed by her mathematical abilities, but concerned by her methods. "Navigator Collins," said her supervisor, "a floating jellyfish-like creature named Driftar. Your calculations are accurate, but your methods are completely unpredictable. How do we verify solutions that come from intuition rather than logic?" "You test them," Amy said simply. She had spent the morning creating new routes between star systems, routes that were shorter and more efficient than anything in the Federation database. "Look, I can't explain exactly how I know these paths will work, but I can prove they do." She activated a simulator and showed her routes in action. The results were undeniable. Her paths reduced travel time and energy consumption across multiple sectors. But the alien navigators were uncomfortable with solutions they couldn't fully understand. Dr. Carter was having similar experiences in the communication division. He had been assigned to work on translation problems between species that had struggled to understand each other for centuries. His human approach to language was completely different from the Federation's methodical translation protocols. "Dr. Carter," said his supervisor, "a crystalline being that communicated through light patterns. The Velkorans and the Vexani have been unable to achieve perfect translation for 40,000 years. Their thought patterns are simply too different." "Perfect translation might be impossible," Carter admitted, "but effective communication isn't." He had been working with representatives from both species, using emotional context and cultural references instead of literal word-for-word translation. Within 3 days, he had the two species communicating more clearly than they had in millennia. But his methods worried the Federation linguists because they relied on subjective interpretation rather than objective rules. Back in the research lab, Helen's success with protein synthesis had attracted attention from the highest levels of Federation science. She found herself presenting her findings to a council of the galaxy's most respected researchers. "Dr. Moore," said the lead scientist, an ancient being that looked like living metal, "your results are impressive, but your methods are dangerous. You combined chemicals without following safety protocols. You could have caused an explosion, but I didn't," Helen replied. "I understood the risks and took appropriate precautions. Sometimes you have to take calculated risks to make real progress." Calculated risks led to the destruction of 17 research facilities over the past 100,000 years, the metal being said sternly, "The Federation prioritizes safety over speed of discovery. And that's why you've been stuck on the same problems for thousands of years." Helen shot back. "You're so afraid of failure that you've forgotten how to succeed." The tension in the room was obvious. The Federation scientists respected Helen's abilities, but they were terrified by her willingness to try untested approaches. Similar scenes were playing out across New Nexus as other humans demonstrated their capabilities. Frank Hayes was working with Federation security forces, showing them tactical innovations that their rigid training had never considered. Kate Murphy was helping law enforcement solve crimes, using investigative techniques that combined logic with human intuition about behavior and motivation. But not all reactions were positive. Security Chief Vexand of the Korthul species had been watching the humans closely, and he didn't like what he saw. "Chancellor Morthen," Vexand reported during a private meeting, "the humans are exactly as dangerous as our historical records suggest. They ignore established procedures, take unnecessary risks, and create solutions that cannot be properly verified or controlled. Yet their solutions work, Morthen replied slowly. Dr. Moore's protein synthesis, Navigator Cullen's flight paths, Dr. Carter's translation methods, all are effective. Effective, yes, Vexen agreed, but unpredictable. Chancellor, we have maintained galactic peace for 600,000 years through careful control and predictable systems. The humans threaten all of that. Morthen was quiet for a long moment. Show me the reports on their psychological evaluations. Vexen activated a holographic display showing detailed analysis of human behavior patterns. The results are disturbing, Chancellor. Humans show high levels of creativity, adaptability, and problem-solving ability. But they also show dangerous tendencies toward risk-taking, rule-breaking, and independent thinking. Can you see these as threats? I see these as the same patterns that led to their near extinction, Vexen replied. Chancellor, every species that has exhibited similar traits has eventually caused significant disruption to galactic stability. The Vakthai, the Pelgorans, the Zithmar, all were creative and adaptable. All had to be contained. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison was having his own meetings with Federation officials. He had been assigned to work with the diplomatic corps, where his human perspective on conflict resolution was creating both interest and concern. Captain Morrison, said Ambassador Telver during one of their sessions, your approach to negotiation is highly unusual. You use emotional appeals and personal connections rather than logical arguments. Emotions and personal connections are part of logic, Jake replied. You can't understand someone's position without understanding how they feel about it. But feelings are subjective and unreliable, Telver protested. Federation diplomacy is based on objective facts and mutual benefit calculations. How's that working out? Jake asked. According to your records, you've had the same unresolved disputes between member species for thousands of years. Maybe it's time to try a different approach. Jake's point was proven when he successfully mediated a trade dispute that had been ongoing for centuries. He did it not by calculating optimal resource distribution, but by helping both sides understand each other's cultural values and emotional needs. As the evaluation period continued, word of human innovations spread throughout New Nexus. Some Federation citizens were excited by the possibilities, while others were frightened by the implications. The humans were proving they could contribute to galactic civilization, but they were also confirming fears about their disruptive potential. Dr. Rodriguez found himself treating patients that Federation medicine had given up on, using techniques that combined medical science with intuitive understanding of how different species' bodies and minds work together. His success rate was remarkable, but his methods worried alien doctors who preferred established treatments. On the 5th day of evaluation, Helen Moore made a discovery that changed everything. While working on a complex physics problem, she found a way to improve the energy efficiency of Federation power systems by 40%. The discovery could revolutionize technology across the galaxy, but her method had required her to ignore 3 different safety protocols and combine technologies that Federation engineers insisted were incompatible. The results were undeniable, but the process horrified the alien scientists who witnessed it. Dr. Moore, Director Sylvan said after reviewing her work, what you have accomplished should be impossible. Our best engineers have worked on power efficiency for millennia. That's your problem, Helen replied. You've been trying to solve it the same way for millennia. Sometimes you need fresh eyes and a willingness to break the rules. The Federation Council chamber was packed with representatives from over 10,000 species when Jake Morrison and his team were brought in for the final hearing. A massive room buzzed with conversations in hundreds of different languages. But Jake could feel the tension in the air. Today would decide the fate of humanity. Chancellor Morthen called for order, and the chamber fell silent. "We are here to decide the classification and future of the species known as humans," he announced. "The evaluation period has provided us with extensive data on their capabilities and potential impact on Federation society." Security Chief Vex, and was the first to speak. He stood up, his reptilian form towering over most other council members. "Chancellor, the evidence is clear. Humans are exactly what our historical records predicted. A chaotic, unpredictable species that threatens galactic stability." A holographic display showed examples of human innovations from the past week. "Look at their methods," Vexen continued. "They ignore safety protocols, break established procedures, and create solutions that cannot be properly controlled. Dr. Moore's energy efficiency breakthrough required her to violate 3 separate safety standards. Navigator Collins' flight paths use calculations that our best mathematicians cannot verify." Murmurs of agreement came from several sections of the chamber. Vexand had many supporters among the more conservative species. Furthermore, Vexand sighed. Their psychological profiles show dangerous levels of independence and risk-taking. These are the same traits that led to the destruction of the Vakthai homeworld in the Pelgoran expansion wars. The Federation has learned from these mistakes. Ambassador Telver stood up next. "Security Chief Vex and raises important concerns, but we must also consider the potential benefits. In 1 week, humans have solved problems that have challenged our best minds for centuries. Their trade dispute resolution, their medical innovations, their communication breakthroughs, all represent significant advances. Advances that come at the cost of stability," Vexen replied. "The Federation has prospered for 600,000 years by maintaining order and predictability. Humans represent chaos." The debate continued for hours with council members, arguing passionately on both sides. Some species supported containing humanity, while others advocated for careful integration. Jake and his team listened, knowing they were hearing their death sentence being debated. Finally, Chancellor Morthen raised his hand for silence. "Before we vote, the humans will be given an opportunity to address the council. Captain Morrison, you may speak." Jake stood up, feeling the weight of 50,000 human lives on his shoulders. He looked around the chamber at thousands of alien faces, some curious, some hostile, many simply indifferent. "Chancellor Morthen, honored council members," Jake began, "I stand before you not just as a human, but as someone who has witnessed both the worst and best of what civilizations can achieve." He activated a portable display showing images from Earth's history. "You're right to be concerned about human destructiveness. We nearly destroyed our own world through war, pollution, and greed. But that's not the whole story." The display showed images of human art, music, literature, and scientific discoveries. Humans created these things too. We built hospitals to heal the sick, schools to educate our children, and eventually, ships to carry us to the stars in search of something better. Jake paused, looking directly at Vexand. "Security Chief, you say we represent chaos. But what you call chaos, we call growth. What you call dangerous unpredictability, we call adaptation." He turned to address the full council. "You've achieved something remarkable here. 600,000 years of peace, prosperity, and stability. But at what cost? When was the last time any of you discovered something that changed your understanding of the universe? When did you last solve a problem that had seemed impossible?" The chamber was quiet now, with thousands of aliens listening intently. "Dr. Moore didn't break your safety protocols because she was reckless," Jake continued. "She broke them because she understood that sometimes, to achieve something great, you have to be willing to risk failure. Amy Collins didn't ignore your mathematical proofs because she was careless. She found solutions your logic couldn't reach because she was willing to trust her intuition." Helen Moore stood up beside Jake. "Chancellor, May I demonstrate something? Without waiting for permission, she activated a complex holographic display showing the galaxy's energy distribution network. This is your current power grid. Efficient, reliable, and completely predictable. It's also operating at 60% of its potential capacity. She modified the display, showing her proposed improvements. With human innovations, we could increase energy output by 40% while reducing maintenance requirements. But it would require changes to systems that haven't been modified in 50,000 years. Changes that could destabilize the entire network, Vexen protested. Or changes that could power the next phase of galactic evolution, Helen replied. The choice is yours. Amy Collins stepped forward next. Chancellor, I've been studying your long-range sensor data. You've been detecting signals from outside the galaxy for thousands of years, but you've never investigated them because they're beyond your established exploration boundaries. She brought up a new display showing mysterious energy signatures from distant galaxies. These signals suggest civilizations far more advanced than anything in Federation space. Someday, they might come here. When they do, will you be ready? Will your perfectly stable, predictable society be able to adapt to challenges unlike anything you've faced before? The chamber erupted in discussion. The signals Amy mentioned were classified information, known only to the highest levels of Federation leadership. Dr. Carter stood up as the noise died down. Honored council members, I've spent this week learning about your different species, your cultures, your histories. You've achieved something humans never could, perfect harmony among thousands of different forms of life. But harmony and growth don't have to be enemies. He looked around the chamber. Every species here has something unique to contribute. The Crythek bring logical analysis. The Mordain offer fluid adaptability. The Velinari provide crystalline precision. Humans bring something different, the willingness to question established wisdom and try new approaches. Jake took control again. Chancellor, we're not asking you to abandon your principles or risk the stability you've worked so hard to achieve. We're asking you to let us help you grow. Let us be your scouts, your innovators, your problem solvers for the challenges that pure logic can't handle. He paused, then made his final argument. You have a choice to make. You can contain us, keep us safe and controlled on some distant world where we can't disrupt your perfect order. Or you can partner with us. Let us help you prepare for a future. That might be more challenging than your past. Chancellor Morthen stood up slowly. Captain Morrison, you ask us to trust a species that nearly destroyed itself. You ask us to risk the stability we've maintained for 600,000 years. Why should we take such a risk? Jake looked the ancient leader directly in the eyes. Because, Chancellor, the greatest risk isn't change. The greatest risk is staying the same while the universe continues to evolve around you. Someday, you'll face challenges that can't be solved with 600,000 years of accumulated wisdom. When that day comes, you'll need allies who can think differently, adapt quickly, and find solutions that don't exist in any database. He gestured to his team. We offer you partnership, not domination. We offer growth, not destruction. We offer hope that the galaxy's best days are still ahead of it. The chamber fell silent as Chancellor Morthen considered Jake's words. Finally, the ancient leader spoke. The council will vote. All in favor of human containment? Thousands of lights appeared throughout the chamber as council members cast their votes. Jake's heart sank as he saw the count climbing. All in favor of human integration under standard protocols? More lights appeared, but not enough to change. The outcome? All in favor of the new classification proposal? Jake looked confused. He didn't know there was a third option. Chancellor Morthen's stone face showed what might have been a smile. Captain Morrison, the Council has voted to create a new classification for humanity. You will be designated as galactic catalysts. species whose purpose is to stimulate growth and innovation throughout Federation space. The chamber erupted in noise as the implications became clear. You will not be contained, Morthen continued. You will not be controlled. Instead, you will be given resources and support to do what you do best: solve problems, explore possibilities, and help the galaxy evolve. Your ship will become the flagship of a new human innovation initiative. Jake felt his knees go weak. With relief, Chancellor, thank you. We won't let you down. See that you don't, Morthen replied. The galaxy is watching, Captain Morrison. Show us what humans can achieve when they're free to reach for the stars. 6 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the UNS Horizon as it led a fleet of human and alien vessels toward the edge of Federation space. Behind them, human colonies were being established throughout the galaxy, each one a center of innovation and discovery. Amy Collins called out from her navigation station.